Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Podriplegics podcast. As always, I'm Shawn Dallasall, I don't know if you're to my right or my left. Are you to my right? The danger zone?
Other way.
Mr. Kenny Loggins. Mr. Kenny Loggins has joined us today. Laronda, Don, and we have very special guests today, Miss Kam Redlawsk and Jason Hazelroth from Chair Devils, which if you're on Instagram and you haven't checked it out yet, it is just Chair Devils, regular Chair Devils, and they do some really super cool artwork, all revolving around disabilities, people on chairs, video games, all that kind of stuff. It's really fun, really cool. Check it out when you get a chance. Let's get right into it. Kam, Jason, how are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent. So what we like to ask people first is, disability-wise, what is your disability and how long have you had your disability?
I have GNE myopathy. It's a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. I've had it for about 21 years, and at the time when I was diagnosed, they said about 1,000 people worldwide had it. Now it might be maybe up to 3,000 worldwide years later, but yeah, and so what it does, it progressively weakens or debilitates all your muscles. For some reason, it's quad sparing until the end, but every other muscle basically ends up debilitating until most patients end up complete immobility. So I've been in a wheelchair for about 10 years, and I now it started with my legs first, and now my upper body, my arms and my hands and shoulders and torso and neck is all starting to get affected.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before, and obviously this is very rare. Is that something like that you discovered later in your life?
Yeah, it's genetic, and we're actually both adoptees. And I had played soccer and played sports for like 13 years and into high school. And it really began in high school, but I didn't start looking into it until beginning of college years. And just suddenly I was starting to trip. I had foot drop, and running was getting harder. And so it took about 5 different diagnoses to finally figure out what I had in a few years. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Was it difficult for you to make that process? I know we talk about this a lot because I think all of us except for Eric were able-bodied at one point in our lives and then had become disabled afterwards. Was that a difficult thing for you to wrap your head around mentally?
It is. It's definitely a process. Like I said, it's been about 21 years and change. And, with the progressive condition, it's a little bit different than, say, like an accident where it's just instant and then you have to kind of adapt to that new life. With this, it's a constant. You're constantly losing. You're constantly having to adjust to a new level of physicality, constantly dealing with loss, things that you used to do, like driving. And I was cooking up until just a few years ago. I was really into cooking. And now I do art. I was an industrial designer. I actually studied car design. And then I went into advocacy, and I studied, became a self-taught illustrator so I could visually, do advocacy as well. And that's just kind of like started the whole process into advocacy.
So when you develop, as you developed into your disability, did you learn skills to kind of work around what it is you were able to do at the time? And then did you figure out other things as it's developed on, right? Like to figure out how to use the computers. But I mean, obviously you're very skilled with the computer. So is it something that you've had to continually evolve doing as you move down?
Yeah, in the first probably 8 to 10 years, I didn't really know anyone disabled. They had told me it was so rare that I would never find another patient like me. I would never see research or treatment being developed for my condition, and kind of decided, quit college and, don't do much. And I was raised, I wasn't born in Michigan. I was raised in Michigan to my adoptive family, Michigan. Do we have Michigan people in the house?
That's me, yeah.
Really? Okay, awesome. Yeah, we both grew up in Michigan. We came from South Korea and separately, and then we actually both met in the same art and design college. And so in the beginning, it is because I didn't know anyone disabled, so you just kind of have to like, go through the stages yourself. I started with a cane, and then I started with leg braces, and then it was just kind of a journey. And I moved to California to look for work and get out of the cold state, since I knew my condition was gonna go to complete pretty severe state. I didn't want to be in a cold state anymore. And so when I came here to look for design jobs, I happened to find a nonprofit that had been founded by two patients just like me, who were brothers and doctors. So like I said, the condition is genetic. And so that was really 13 years ago, my first beginning of meeting disabled people. And then pretty much right away, I got into advocacy, trying to raise awareness for my rare disease since it was so rare. And then it's kind of evolved into more in general disability and using art and writing and wheelchair travels to kind of share that more of stories of disabled people, as well as there's a lot of things that we can do. And we're not broken just because we're disabled. There's so much we can still do and contribute. And we have, very powerful and necessary voices. And that's pretty much what we did. So then we started Chair Doubles together a couple years ago.
You bring up something that I keep very close to my heart is creating meaning and purpose in one's life can be so important to stave off mental illness of any sort, anxiety, depression, all that sort of stuff. And to give yourself meaning and purpose, I mean, you're right, you totally have something to offer, and it's amazing how that perception and that approach can affect other people too. Just living your life has that effect. I actually had that effect with a gentleman today that I saw. So that's completely awesome. I love that view.
Yeah, that's exactly, I didn't have any examples for about almost 10 years. And so when I got into it, it was just, I knew what it meant to feel lonely and not have uncertainty and not know, how do you adapt to this new life? Is your life over type of thing? And so when I met patients and then I began my Instagram and start my personal Instagram and started documenting my wheelchair travels, you realize like a lot of people that were disabled or other people who had the same condition as me from across the world, I was their first exposure to either someone with their disease or someone disabled. And, they watch my videos of skydiving and parasailing and doing all sorts of stuff. And they're like, oh, maybe my life isn't over like everyone tells me. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the most important things is, yes, I advocate for my rare disease and treatment development, but also more the acceptance and trying to still live your life in spite of anything. So that's mainly why I share.
That's it's amazing that once people get a disability, sometimes they actually live the full life that they always wanted to live. They get the freedom to actually do what they've dreamed of doing. Sort of, I've always wanted to parasail. I've always wanted to skydive, and now I got the time to do it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I always equate the life I've lived in the last, 20 years to my disease and my disability. It just makes you realize how short life is. We always hear that cliche, but when you're given it in form of, okay, you got an I don't want to say expiration, but here's a certain amount of time until you're completely immobile. And right away I was like, okay, I want to do everything I ever wanted to do. And I've done things I never thought I would do. I just actually launched a road trip essay that a Travelers app commissioned me to do. And I talked about a Bike for Cam trip we did that I had put together a grassroots fundraising group for about 5 years. My friends back from San Francisco to LA along the Pacific Coast Highway. And in the last year of running the project, we built a rig and they brought me along with it. So I actually just launched an essay sharing about that trip from a few years ago. So yeah, I've got
Super
to do
cool.
cool things.
Laronda, Don?
Angel's out of her way to live her life, she's always dragging me along on things I never would have done. It's like I've done them all now because of Cam.
So-
It's encouraging. It's really encouraging for me, because like I said, I didn't know anything about adaptive anything. It's just been since I've been in Arizona for basically I think the past like 3 years. So just hearing some of the things that you do, you're a little more braver than I am, I would say. But it's encouraging to me every time I see someone with some form of disability, regardless of what it is, doing and living and really, really living life. Because I think a lot of people don't understand that we actually live life. So I'm gonna have to make sure I follow you.
So, Laronda, does that mean you're going to be jumping on a plane sometime soon, or?
No, I watch. I'm a good cheerleader. If you ever need someone to cheer you on on the sideline, I'm your girl.
Come on, Laronda. Come on.
I'm just saying. Like I said, if you ever need a cheerleader, someone to give you that moral support, call me. I'm your girl. No.
No,
So you
it's
keep
a
doing
good working plan. I know that's what my dad said too. It's a perfectly
Right,
good plan
yeah.
to jump on.
Right. I encourage you. I mean, hey, I will encourage it. Like I said, I'll cheer you on. I'll be right by your side. You can do it. Just ain't for me.
So the paraglider, that's the one with the motor on the back, right? It has, that's parasailing. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. Are you thinking that too then, Laronda? You, Laronda.
No.
Yeah, I think you should try that, Laronda. You can do it.
You know what? No, I can't.
You put a life preserver on and then you just land in the water after you're all done.
Cam, do you see what I have to deal with? I work at Ability 360 at the Sport Fitness Center. I get this all the time. They try to get me to do everything. I'm not interested.
You should.
I don't want to play basketball. Only thing I do is tennis and softball. Those two, that's it. So, but I love it. I got all my friends. They're very active. I mean, skiing. No, I'm looking on the sidelines. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep encouraging us.
So when you talk about where can we see some of like the stuff of you going on these trips and camping? Is this TikTok or do you guys
My
do it?
personal Instagram. If you're on Chair Devils, both of our handles are in the bio, or my name. Just look up my name. Yeah. Share Love My Travels.
Yeah. Make sure to send me those links, okay? All your links, because I'll put it I'll put it after we're done.
And I love to watch. I love to watch, and I comment the whole 9 yards if I can. I love it. So make sure you put it in there so I can follow you.
You're a premier watcher.
So,
Yes, I am. I would do that.
logistical question here. Cam, where in California are you located? And where?
Or Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Okay. And are the two of you sitting next to each other, or are there two cameras? Because I can't make it out here. It almost looks like.
We're sitting next to each other.
Are you? Okay. It looks like.
Yeah, it always looks like 2 rooms.
It does. All right. Yeah.
It's a black, it's a curtain in the
Trick of
back.
a camera, but it does look like there's 2 rooms. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. I had me confused. I'm sorry, but yeah. Good. Okay. Thanks for clearing.
Don can't see very well.
Yeah, no. I have these Coke bottle glasses here, but okay, good. Thanks for joining us. And the artwork behind you, is that yours?
No, I don't hang out my art in my place. It's other people, other illustrators in the community.
Oh, okay. I was going to compliment you, but that's
Yeah.
cool.
So is this somewhere we can come and see? Like if we come to Los Angeles and we want to come and see your artwork, I mean, is that possible?
My art is on my website, which is also just my name, first and last, KamRedlawsk.com. I do art shows, but I haven't done one since COVID started. So me and
Makes sense.
after, yeah.
So Jason, I got a couple questions for you. Do you help with any caregiving essential type of living situations that comes up in her life and your lives together, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we've been married for about 11 years. We've been together for about 13, something like that. So I've seen about the gamut. When we first met, she was walking and had relatively good mobility, and obviously I've seen the progression of it through. And so I've learned to caretake the best that I can over the years, and just gradually things become a little bit more difficult, so I have to help a little bit more and more. And to this point, I do quite a bit more caretaking now, especially now that I'm working from home and we can be together a lot more. That's kind of the advantage of being home all the time. But yes, I definitely strive to be as good of a caretaker as I can.
Has that been like, I wonder what that evolution for you has been too. We talk about this a lot when you have caregivers and stuff, but a lot of us have had it, like you said, we had an accident, right? So like caregivers, then you have right from then on, and you kind of go through. But for you, I'm assuming it has been more of a gradual type of situation for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose in some ways that makes it maybe a little bit easier on me, because I get to introduce an idea and then I can slowly introduce it more into our process. But I mean, it's difficult from the standpoint of nothing ever stays the same. And
That's true.
Yeah, one day one thing that was perfectly fine is now we have to adjust. So that's just part of that process. But like I said, I just try to keep up best I can, and Cam tries to help me as much as she can, letting me know what she needs. So it's a working process, but I think it works.
It seems like it. I mean, it's nice to have somebody who is with you and will support you and be part of your life in any facet, let alone somebody who is willing to help you through all of these different journeys that your life or disability will take you. So cheers on you for that.
You always say it goes both ways.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
It's a
She's got to put up with you too.
for sure.
Crazy.
So, do you two have any advice? So, living with a disability, caretaking for each other, being married. I mean, there's some boundary stuff going on too, where, maybe, what if you get in an argument, but then you still have to do some caregiving, stuff like that. Do you have any philosophies that you live by to help you kind of navigate that whole relationship? Being married and caregiver boundary relationship. What do you guys do?
So communication is number one, and I've always been into communication, and I write and speak, and so Jason it's something that is not natural communication, and so we've learned to develop that together in terms of you really do have to talk about everything. And we're connected in every way throughout the day in terms of like, I'm usually doing everything that doesn't require any physical lifting. Everything that's physical, Jason does. And then I try to do basically, he always says it as, I do everything that requires a brain. So I do everything else required to run a house, all our finances and bills and any scheduling. And, like I said earlier, I used to be an avid cook, and it's not so much anymore. My hands don't really work that well anymore. So now I'm teaching Jason, but I'm not physically cooking, but I'm still using my skills to create grocery lists and okay, this is what we're gonna do this week. And he just kind of just said, yep, okay, and just goes along with, so it really works well. Like we have a lot of similarities in that we have our art interests and things like that to connect us, but then a lot of in ways we're not similar, where I'm more outgoing and usually if you're talking to us, it's usually me doing the talk. Even when we're home alone, it's usually me doing the talking. Jason isn't as big of a talker, but yeah, we just seem to balance each other out really well. Like he's very even person, and I'm more of the really passionate person that's like coming up with stuff. Let's go do this, crazy thing. And he just it's great because he just always like goes along with whatever I say, and he allows me to live my life and ideas that I have, and he's just been really supportive about that, like just allowing anything that I come up with. Oh, I want to go travel here. I want to go do this. He's always supporting that.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, I think we fill in each other's gaps. So that works out well for us. Like I said, she does a lot of the planning and organizing, and that's never been my skill. So it kind of works out well because she comes up with plans, I enact it, and we just kind of know our roles with each other. You know, even like you're kind of talking about like when you have disagreements, it's like even when you have a disagreement, I think you still try to recognize that, oh, you still need the caretake, and you know, that's sort of try not to let it personal.
Yeah.
Coming to play with that. So
That is actually something I've talked about before, the frustration of usually when you're going to fight with someone or your partner, you can just leave. Yeah, I'm going in my car. I'll see you later. And I just get like a little irritated. I'm like, okay, I'm mad at you, but I got to sit here now and ask you to help me to the bathroom. It's funny, before I was disabled, I was the one in the relationship that was difficult to get to come around. It would take a little while, but I've noticed since I became disabled or I progressed, I don't know, maybe it's just a subconscious thing, but I get over things really quickly. I don't want to dwell on an argument. If I get mad at Jason for something, it's only about that thing, and it's like I don't want it to last a minute. Like I'm not into, or he'll be a little bit more. He's more of the closed off person, and will go kind of like be quiet and sulk, and I have to like every time I have to cry him out. I'll be like, Jason, are you okay? No, let's not fight. We're not fighting anymore. So,
That's because you're a woman. That's a gift. That's a gift. I'm just gonna say it, Cam. That's a gift. It's because we master that after a while.
I don't know, but I don't see you mastering that skill, Laronda.
I have the similar situation, except mine is reversed. So I tend to be, my girlfriend tends to be the more vocal person, and I'm the more reserved, but also hold on to it longer. So, but I need her help for my care. I'm quadriplegic, so I have the same thing with you, Cam, but just the opposite. Yeah.
I know, and it's frustrating, right? Because you just want to like run away sometimes. You're
Yeah,
like,
you want
okay.
to slam the door and say, you know,
Yeah,
see you next week or whatever.
yeah. Let me cool down. I'm gonna go take a drive, but you know,
Yeah.
can you open the door for me, please?
It gets kind of hard, doesn't it?
I feel your pain.
As
Both
I,
of you.
as I storm
Both
out, I'm
Yeah.
not talking to you unless I need something from you, okay?
she'll tell me to lie down on the ground, and then she'll roll over my foot.
I was just gonna say, I guess I haven't got. Yeah, you're right, Shawn.
No,
I used to-
you don't have that skill.
I'd be mad.
No way.
You catch me.
I wasn't
catch
gonna
me
let
on
you
the
try to
floor.
act like
I
it.
refuse. Don't help me. Stay away. Stay away. I'm that person. I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I take that back. You're right, Shawn. You're right.
That's really cool, though. You know, I think that it's a major part of a lot of our lives, right? I mean, having to be reliant on somebody to help us do certain things, you know, and every day, right? And then to have to navigate it as far as the relationship goes, or then also if you have caregivers, right, then you also have to navigate a caregiver whose relationship is with your loved one, right? It's like it becomes a triangle to 6 to 7 to 8 different points, right? And you have to navigate all of it. And I'm glad that you guys have found a peaceful yin and yang harmony for that. And it's not the easiest thing for us to do.
Thankfully, Jason is, when we first started dating, we actually met in college in Detroit. We went to the same design school, and we started out as friends. And he liked me, and I wasn't interested. And we didn't actually start dating until I came out to California, independent from Jason, and Jason was already out here. And
Wow.
yeah.
So Jason, since she didn't like you at the time, what did you do to change her mind?
I'm not sure. She put me in the friend zone for a long time.
Oh, brutal.
I think when she told me she was coming out, I was like, oh, if you need a place to stay, That's right.
There you go.
Well played. It was a test. You passed it.
Yeah, I guess you did.
Different character. No.
So who came up like for drawing and doing art? So you two both went to art school. Did you have similar interest in like your designs and how you guys chose to draw, or what are you two completely different in your design methods?
I would say we're completely opposites in design style. I did industrial design, car and product design, and he did concept illustration, or he does concept illustration for video games. And so design is less. It's art, but you're drawing out products of what they would look like a desktop computer or a car or shoes or toys. And then I got into illustration. Just as a means, because I had started blogging and I was the first blog of someone with my condition. And then I thought maybe if I started doing drawings with it, sometimes people respond differently visually than writing, or not everybody likes to read. So I started drawing as well. And so most all my art, personal illustrations are more of a surreal feel, graphic, and they all have something to do with my moments or experience of this progression of this disease or disability, as well as a little bit about being a Korean adoptee. And then we kind of got off into, I think Jason had did a little sketch about for Chair Devils, and we were talking about it, sketching in bed or something. And we had started making characters for about a year. We didn't share them because we thought, oh, these are cute. You never see anything in media or pop culture much at all with disability. So it's kind of the last few years. I'm also working on a children's book that's inspired by my rare disease.
Nice.
So the last couple of years, I've really been like, okay, I want to use my advocacy for creating more visibility. And that's how we started Chair Devils. And then prior, I had started my children's book as well, just because, what we see feeds our prejudices and biases, including what we don't see. And a lot of people, I don't think all ignorance is malice. Some of it is also just lack of exposure. When before I became disabled, you call me ignorant about disability. I didn't know anything about it. And had a lot of the same type of stigmas, when I was like 18 or young, and you would see someone disabled, but it was very rare you would ever see someone. And it's always interesting. People just think, I think able-bodied people think that disabled people just suddenly fell out of the sky. I was like, no, it's just we didn't have any access. So you have to stay inside because you can't go out, or society.
But you did fall out of the sky.
Yeah, I did. You're right.
I think that's awesome. I think you are dead on when you look at your analysis of that, because you start to see, like, the longer you're in a chair or disabled, right, and the more people that you have in your life, right, then you start to see the tree start going out further and further of people who pay attention to disabilities, people who are more aware of what access is, and all these different issues that we deal with, and are more, open to being advocates for it in a way, right? And I can't remember how I saw your stuff on Instagram in the first place, but I believe it was somebody who posted it and that was not disabled. So, it's just like you're touching all these different people, and I love it. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here so bad, is because, like, I feel like your art is going to see, like, mainstream very quickly, and it's going to be all over the place, and people are going to start paying more attention to it, what disabilities are.
Can I just interject here real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
So Cam, for those that aren't familiar with it, what exactly is Chair Devils? I mean, people might not know what that is.
Yeah, so Chair Devils is basically cute chibi style characters. I don't know if you guys know what anime is, but kind of a subset of anime is like the chibi characters, super deformed. And so we wanted to do kind of like this really cute style that made kind of disability accessible. So it's like anyone could see it and be like, oh, that's super cute, and want to know more about it. Kind of like what Cam was saying, was exposure is king. That's what really transforms people. And so we're just like, hey, if we do a bunch of these for every type of disability, I mean, mainly chairs, but if we do it for every type of disability that's in a chair, then, you know, people will get exposed to it and they might want to share it and know more about it. So it's really just kind of a subset of like all disabilities, I mean, chairs, but just so we can kind of talk about all the different kinds of people, disabilities, like sports, activities that they do. One of the reasons we called it Chair Devils originally was because it was kind of a play off of Daredevils. It's a pun. And so we were like, oh yeah, like all the extreme sports that wheelchair sports that there are. And then it just kind of became everything about disability. But yeah, just kind of encompasses all disabilities. So we can kind of give exposure and light to you know, all these different groups.
Yeah, and that's not even just for disabled, for able-bodied too, but also disabled, because even disabled people, a lot of us don't even know another disabled person. So to see that, it's like when I had disabled person reach out to me and say, I saw your skydiving video and I had recently become disabled. I never thought any of that would ever be possible. And so that's another reason why to share, is to show that oftentimes disabled is always viewed as sad and broken and you know, pitying. And so the chair devil is, a lot of my personal illustration on my personal Instagram is a little bit more sentimental, and we'll talk more of the emotional aspects of what it's like dealing with a progressive condition. But with chair devils, we wanted to be more fun and representative of all the different all the people we know in the community who are doing big things, who do sports, who do, you know, art, who are doctors, who are, you know, teachers. And, you know, when you see that, people are like, oh, I never really thought a disabled person could be a teacher. It's like, yeah, we have brains, we can do all that. We just need a little bit of help, maybe, like, you know, I got like 12 flights of stairs and we need an elevator. But other than that, you know.
I had no idea there were so many disabled sports. That's one thing.
All right.
You know, I was just exposed to bobsledding, and there's this guy who's a full double amputee who's a bobsledder, Dave Nichols. Oh, I want to do that so badly.
Luge, dude.
Yeah. Oh, no, probably not luge. No, no, don't want to do that. I want to have something surrounding my body when I go down this death slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool. Instagram.com/chair devils, by the way.
Yep.
And then Instagram.com/Kam, it's KAM, Red, RED, Law, LAWSK. So you
Yeah,
can check those out there.
So Kam, have you been approached by anyone to do maybe like developing a TV show or any kind of a online cartoon or something like that? Or your art is amazing. So
Thank you. Yes, we definitely, well, I'm trying to finish my children's book, which is called Monster in Me. And it's inspired by my rare disease, particularly years ago when I was still using a cane. I had tripped and fell over like 1/8 of an inch, you know, floor molding rise. And I was just laying there waiting for Jason to come home from work to help me up. And I just imagined, like, you know, what tripped me, and I imagined this monster had tripped me. And so a lot of friends had told me I should make that into a children's book, and I just finally started to do it. And the idea is it personifies the disease as this forlorn kind of compassionate monster who is constantly following this little girl around who's me. And she just kind of understanding why is he always with me? And so it's kind of a journey of acceptance, and not just for disability, but anything that is our own little struggles that we're dealing with, whether it's addiction and things like that. And not so much looking at our disease or disability or whatever it is as an enemy, but as a relationship. And a couple of years ago, I had this follower of mine reach out to me and said, you know, I'm bipolar. I've never told anyone because I'm so ashamed of it. I'm suicidal. I won't even tell church members because I feel like they'll judge me. And she's like, but I'm looking at your monster. And I was like, I never really thought of it to look at it like a relationship, and having some compassion and empathy for your disease or disability is having it for yourself, in which I think builds a bridge to acceptance and seeing things a little differently. It doesn't mean that it's not still difficult or there's not difficult days, but when you can really like absorb what is happening, or what is your life, and this thing that keeps following you around that you just don't like all the time, you just view it more as a part of yourself, and you grow to like love this cute monster that is yourself. Okay.
So I have a couple things that popped through my head that I would like to share with you. First of all, have you guys ever hooked into Critical Role? They are a Dungeons and Dragons. I know this is a nerd alert, but
Oh.
there are Dungeons and Dragons.
We can't
Very,
get through
very
one episode without you talking about Dungeons and Dragons, dude.
It's a very popular show, but the community of artists that freely display their art get shown on the show. So as artists submitted, they get shown on the show. And one of the things that they've recently done is highlighted D&D characters with disabilities. So, choosing to be in a wheelchair as a Dungeons and Dragons character of some sort, like an elf or whatever. And so that there's some popularity in that arena, and they are a force of a community. If you guys ever decide to submit your drawings to that, you might get a very good response, because you have some really cool stuff going on.
I did see those recently, and I like how far they've gone with them. They put a bunch of weapons on the chairs, and
Yeah, so it's that's something. Also, the other thing I noticed is so do you practice mindfulness or meditation or any of that sort of stuff? Because some of the stuff, the way you talk sounds very mindful to me, or a very present moment, and like you have a very detailed way that you approach your stuff, when you're using stuff like acceptance and stuff like that. I'm just curious because some people benefit from that and utilize it, and some people it's just their natural way. So I'm just curious.
I think it's a great thing to utilize for sure. I don't, but I wish I was better at trying to like make time for things like meditation, and I did adaptive yoga for like a few months back when I lived somewhere else, where there's a place next to me that was actually awesome. They adapted their yoga for me. But no, I think it's just time, and and they always say when you lose one thing, the other aspects of yourself heighten. So if you're deaf, you're able to like, or if you're blind, your hearing is like that much more significant and things like that. So I think as I progressed, you become more of a cerebral existence, I think, in general. And that's something that I know that is my future, where as my mobility is more and more taken from me. So I think I just think a lot, and I'm just kind of contemplative. I guess I've always been that type of way in a lot of ways.
The reason why I ask is because I've met on this show, I've met some pretty extraordinary individuals. Okay, we'll include Shawn too. He's extraordinary as well. But what I'm saying is I've also met some people that are really jaded, and they've turned themselves off in so many ways of I can't this and I can't that, and I'm not this and I'm not that, and they refuse to come to grips with their situation, and it's just it's this whole thing. And so when I say mindfulness, I don't necessarily mean meditation either. Your speak, the way you speak, says that that you come to an acceptance with where you've been, that you are allowing and accepting the change that is happening, even though it's not as you would wish, ideally. That's not something everyone does. And I just gotta really congratulate you on that, because that is quite the feat.
Yeah, I had one person, I remember someone told me once before, like, what you were before you were disabled. People always think that disabled people are naturally going to be these like great people who just,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
look
this-
at you like, no, we can be jerks too, people. It's okay. Yeah.
Well said.
They always say what you were before, most likely you'll be heightened afterwards.
I agree.
Is someone calling out someone?
No. Wouldn't do that.
Well, you know, during the younger years, I mean, I can definitely tell you, I wasn't as nice as am today. So,
I think we all have those times, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I think it's really important to be really honest about. I'm not like acceptance 100. You know, that's the other thing with my disability advocacy is I obviously share the optimism. I share that ashamed of yourself and all that. However, I think a lot of what's going on with advocacy now, they see a lot of disabled advocates who are, it's great to be empowered, we all should, but it's kind of that 24/7, like fierce empowerment, and I have no problem being disabled, and the only problem is society, it's nothing. And I get that society is a huge barrier for us. On the other end, there are people that are just new to becoming disabled or have been disabled for a while and still struggling with it. And that's okay because I still do too as well. So I'm very honest about talking about how it's a process. It's a journey dealing acceptance and integrating this into your life, specifically because it's progressive for me. But you know, I never want to pose myself as this, like, I don't like that when advocates pose themselves as just, I'm only always fierce and, you know, disability pride 24/7. And I think of myself as in a positive light all the time. Well, that's just not true because I know if I'm struggling, then I know everyone else has a bad day here and there when they're disabled. Like, it's not easy. Like sometimes, you know, especially we've had, you know, previous life where we had our abilities. And so it's very natural to want to like mourn that loss every once in a while. And, you know, just in general, I just don't let it take over my entire life because it's really important for me to live. And so I've done a lot of things that I'm really scared of, but I think the drive to want to live so much is much greater than this progressive disease. And so I think all the things I've done in the past few years has greatly helped me with my attitude in a lot of ways. Because yes, just being disabled is not all, you know, apple pie all the time. But I've done so many great things, and I think that decision to do those things really compensates for when I do have difficulty because I'm like, well, I'm just gonna keep living my life. You know, I'm not gonna let it stop me.
I just had the same situation with an individual that basically I really liked what they said. It's like, you know, some are stronger than others, and it's okay. You know, it's okay. And I do admire you with saying that, you know, your advocacy says like, you know, every day is not going to be perfect. Every day we all have struggles. Some days I hate being disabled, but it's okay. You know, it's okay. So that's because I hate when advocacy people, they always like, they try to make it seem like you're going to have a great day every day. Like this is like, but you know, we're human, and I can imagine you know, with your disability being progressive versus ours is like, this is what it is, you know, and you're having to deal with all the different changes that comes with the type of disability you have. So you have to have that type of mindset.
I think a lot of that too, faux, I don't want to call it faux positivity because I'm not saying they're not positive. Like a lot of my Instagram posts are positive and I talk about it, but I also talk about the bittersweetness of it.
Right.
I think some of the conversation for people is, I get it. Society looks at us, they pity us and they're sad, and there's just nothing more that I hate than pity because it's such an unproductive emotion. Like that's great that you pity me, but like, where is that going to take you? Nowhere. You didn't learn anything. You just pitied me. The idea is that you learn something to provoke action and change, you know, an attitude, whether it's you and telling your friends around you, you know, changing that attitude. But I think a lot of disabled advocates do that to compensate because they don't want to be perceived that it's difficult by able-bodied world. So thus they always make it seem like it's always great. And it's not. It's okay to share with the world too that it is difficult, even outside of the fact that society doesn't include us or have access to us. Even outside of that, just the, when we're alone and the emotional repercussions of like, this is a hard day and I just don't have to work anymore. And I wish I wasn't disabled. I think that's natural to say that. That doesn't mean I'm not proud of who I am or I'm ashamed of being disabled.
Right.
It's just natural.
Right. It's okay. It's okay.
Every day doesn't have to be an inspirational story.
Mm-mm.
That gets a little old after a while, doesn't it?
Also makes everybody else feel bad who is having a hard time,
Exactly.
Like you said, there's a lot of disabled people who are, whether they're weaker or they're having a hard time, we all have different levels. So you can't I know this disabled person and she's always positive. What's your problem? I never want to be used as an example like that either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
And
a speaker every day.
And that does keep us human too. I mean, that keeps us human and relatable to other people too. So, which is really nice because that allows us to affect a greater capacity of people from being normal. So
Some days I'm a zombie though.
say it again.
You said it keeps us human. I said some days I'm a zombie.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That fatigue, just disability fatigue is a real thing for sure.
Oh my
Real
God.
thing.
It's a real thing. People don't want to believe it, but it is, especially with this heat coming on. Oh.
I'm looking forward to it.
Why don't we just call it life just getting tired of life, it's like everybody has their regrets. It doesn't matter if you have a disability or not. I mean, we look back and we regret certain decisions we made in our lives or, the path we've taken or whatever. That's just part of being human. So,
I know I do regret the decision that Laronda has made never to jump out of a plane. I regret that immensely.
That's one of those things that you can just keep on regretting.
Yeah. Right.
Keep it up. Guess what? He's gonna regret a whole lot of things messing with me.
Well, look, I know we've kept you pretty close to an hour now, and we really appreciate your time. Like,
Yes.
it's been great. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to say something at the very end here. I just want to make sure everybody checks out Instagram.com/Chair Instagram.com Kam Redlawsk SK. And KamRedlawsk.com. And you can check out all the art there. And do we have yours on? Did you send me your? Do you have your own personal one?
Me?
Huh? Yeah, you.
It's Instagram.com Jason Hazelroth.
There you go. Make sure you check all those out. Jason Hazelroth, right?
Yes.
Instagram. And it's spelled Hazel Roth, ROTH.
Yes.
Hazelroth.
Yes.
And again, like I said, thank you so much. And thank you for what you do. I love your stuff. I'm a follower. I know you know that. I've been following, so I appreciate everything you do. Anybody else want to say or ask anything before we let them go?
Well, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I too. I appreciate your honesty and your forthcomingness. But I just real quick bouncing back to a question: do we any chance we're going to see like a cartoon on TV from you?
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't comment. I don't know. Development.
As soon as I'm done with my children's book and get it published, we want to work on shared albums and hone it more. And right now we just do a character here and there or a feature here and there, but we want to figure out how to brand it and pitch it. And yes, we would like to pitch it. I think it's a great time for disability. Netflix just committed, I think, 100 million to developing and increasing inclusion, including disability and things like that. So it seems like it's a really good time for disability. I think more and more people want to hear our stories. They're aware of it, and they're kind of being forced into it now because we're in this, inclusion area where people have to include us.
Well, go for it, because I think it'll be amazing. And man, Dora the Explorer just was horrible.
Mhm.
We need something more enlightening than Dora the Explorer.
Yes, we definitely want to develop and pitch it. And we're kind of in the animation world and stuff, so we're hoping, develop something and pitch back in and see what we can do with it. Because yes, we need more visibility of people like us.
I got some awesome TV mature rated stories that you can animate and they smash into the wall and watch.
Stay away from his ideas.
After hours.
Again, like I said, thank you so much. And check them out. And we will post this. We'll put all your links underneath of the YouTube and Spotify and all the different stuff that Eric does. I don't really know what that stuff is. So
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
And again, check them out, everybody. We'll see you in next week or on a Q&A or the week after. Podriplegics.
Chair Devils.